Hey guys, I wanted to sit down with you really quick and just teach you one of the most interesting things about hair, and that is why someone has curly hair and someone has straight hair. Besides just the genetics, we all know that, but how it happens. And the reason why and how it happens is because of the shape of your follicle. So straight-haired girls have a circular follicle, and wavy or curly-haired girls have a teardrop follicle, and really curly, kinky, wiry hair textured girls have it's almost like a slit. So there's a point at both ends of their follicle. Obviously this is because of genetics, but how this affects you and your hair is straight-haired girls, the hair comes out and there's no pressure applied on any of the sides, so it's very healthy. It's really shiny, sometimes a little oily, and I'll get to a little bit more of that later, but it just comes out straight. Wavy or curly-haired girls, they have the teardrop. So there's pressure applied to one side, and so if you think about ribbon curling with scissors, the same rule applies. There's a little bit of pressure applied to one side and that gives it this spiral. The only problem with that is it already comes out of the root a little bit damaged. So what that means is you're going to have to work a little bit harder at keeping your hair nice and healthy, growing it out really long, preventing breakage and damage and split ends, because even from the root it's coming out a little bit damaged. Girls that have a slit style follicle have pressure applied to both ends, so the curl really doesn't know which way to go most of the time. So that's why it ends up being really frizzy, really wiry, kind of kinky in texture, and that's just because of the way that it comes out at the root. But how that affects your everyday life is because it helps in figuring out what products are most necessary for you to buy. If your hair is straight, then most likely it has grease. It doesn't hold a curl, it's really hard to get volume, but it grows really fast, really well, and it stays really healthy. The cut that's put into it lasts really long. If you have straight hair, I wouldn't necessarily focus on the conditioning types of treatments like serums and deep conditioning treatments and leave-in conditioners. Instead, I would focus on root lifters, dry shampoos, texture sprays, in order to give you that hold on your curl and the volume that you're lacking, and the oils that are sitting at your scalp. Wavy-haired girls have a little bit of damage at the beginning of their hair's life because of that pressure applied at one side, but that means that they're going to get a really good curl. It'll hold a curl really well. Usually they get more volume. Yes, they have some split ends and some flyaways that need to be helped and combated, and they don't have as much oil. Usually it's not as greasy because that hair that's already damaged at the root absorbs that oil from the get-go, versus someone that has straight hair, the oil doesn't have anywhere to go because the hair is already so healthy. There aren't any cuticles that are open that need to absorb those oils, so it just kind of sits on the hair and makes it look a little bit greasy sometimes. Then curly-haired girls has really wiry hair texture. It doesn't usually get greasy like at all, and it's pretty damaged, so it gets damaged really easily, and they get a lot of volume and a lot of texture, and those are the girls that have like an afro most of the time, because it's just the curls are so wiry in texture. I would recommend not necessarily focusing so much on dry shampoos and texture sprays, because you already, naturally, your hair is already, solving those issues, but instead focusing on the serums and the deep conditioning treatments and those kinds of products, because your hair is already damaged at the root. So, it really will need those things a lot faster and a lot sooner in its life than someone that has straight hair. The other thing is the way that you choose to color your hair. Straight-haired girls have an advantage, and they can realistically do anything that they want to their hair as far as damage is concerned. They could perm it and their hair would still be fine. They could color it and they could go from blonde to dark. It would take a little bit longer because their hair is harder to open that cuticle, so it's going to stay in that orange phase of the lifting process a lot longer than someone that has curly hair. They can do that because it's healthier, so it can be damaged a little bit more before it gets to that breakage point. But curly-haired girls, I would be a lot more cautious and careful with the chemical treatments that you're doing on your hair. because your hair is already a little bit damaged, and so each time that you do those processes, it's just going to damage it even more, and your hair has those weak spots in the curl where it's more likely to get split ends or breakage at those, you know, on that inner turn of the curl. And that just means that you're going to be a little bit more prone to damage a little bit quicker if you're doing those chemical processes. So, of course, you can still do those things. I'm not saying you can't do it, but you just have to be a little bit more gradual in your processes. Maybe make sure to use really good bleaches, or stay away from bleaches and use other types of lighteners. There are lots of options as far as lighteners go. Talk to your hairdresser about that. Hopefully you guys learned a little bit about your hair today and why it is the way that it is, and how to combat the issues that you are having in your respective hair types. If you have any questions about that, just ask me in the comments below, and hopefully I will see you guys again soon in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!